everyone, it's Priya here, and in today's video I'm going to be doing another sketchbook tour. Now this sketchbook, I've just completed it. It is a Hanamil nostalgia sketchbook, and it's usually that sketchbook is primarily used for ink and pencil, but I've used watercolor, gouache, acrylic, color pencils, ink and graphite in it, and it works perfectly fine. I even use charcoal in it and it works fine in it. So I have no problem with using the sketchbook with the techniques that I use. Now I've just completed the sketchbook, and this sketchbook has been one that I've done a lot of experimenting in. I've also done things that I've never done before or drawn before in it. I've also got, where I was going through art block, it helped me get through art block. So there's a variety of different things in the sketchbook. So let's get into today's video, so that I hope that I can inspire you and you can also start keeping your own sketchbook. So getting into today's video, starting off with the first page, I've got the first page, which is my date page and my welcome page. The date page is just, I started this sketchbook in March 2024. I finished it just on the 1st of February 2025, and then I just wanted to have this bubble lettering for the sketchbook page and just have an introduction. Usually I have a scene on my first page, but I think it's better just to have something simple sometimes, and that's what I felt at the moment. So that's what I did for the first welcome page and my date page. Now moving on to the next page, I've got a cup of hot chocolate and a egg mayonnaise sandwich, which I was enjoying at the time, and I decided to draw it and paint it. Now I've also got the recipe for the filling for the sandwich as well. Now I just want to mention that you can use a sketchbook for anything you want. You can use it as a journal, you can use it as a thumbnail, as practice, as doing studies of different things, doing challenges, doing finished pieces, documenting your travels. You can use it for anything. You can use it to write ideas down. It's a sketchbook that's meant for you to have fun in and for you to learn your craft and learn your art. So it's not meant for you to have everything perfect and only worry about the final result being perfect. You can do whatever you want to, and you will see from the pages that I'm going through that everything is not perfect. I mean, here also I wrote coffee, and I realized it's not coffee, it's hot chocolate, and then I couldn't erase it, so I just left it there, and it didn't look good. The writing here was not very good. I didn't write it neatly, and yeah, there were things that I didn't like about this page that I did, but I left it in my sketchbook and I didn't let it affect me or make me feel bad about my art. So you need to remember that when you're doing your art in your sketchbook is yours, and you use it however you want to use it. Your sketchbook, there's no rules that you need to use it a particular way. A sketchbook is yours to use how you want to. So I just want to point that out, because a lot of people feel it needs to be perfect and every page needs to be perfect, and that's clearly not the way it needs to be. Or it can be if you want. If you want it to be the perfect every page, that's perfectly fine. But if it's not perfect every page, you need to accept those imperfections and learn from those pages that you're not so happy with, and move on from there and create something else on the next page. So now moving from this page, the next page I've done some wisteria plants. Now I didn't really like how this turned out, and looking back at it now, I would do a lot of things to change it, but I just left it in my book as a reminder and a lesson for what I realized I did wrong and how I would go about fixing it in the future if I draw this again. So that's why I leave some of my sketches in my sketchbook, so that I can learn from them. However, there are sometimes the sketches, which you'll see going down later, that I really just don't like, and I will cover it over, and that's the perfect thing you can do. Paint over it, draw over it, paste the page over it, and you got rid of it. So that's just something to remember. So looking at the next page, this was some butterflies that I painted, and I was really happy with them because they have a lot of detail in them, and I was really also happy about the color combination. It was something new to me, using these sort of these pale pinks and turquoise and grays and this sort of a cream beige color. So I was really excited using a different color palette and painting these butterflies. Now moving on to the next page, this is where I painted with some acrylic. I use acrylic just to paint these little scenes. So you have these little winter tree scenes, this mountain with snow-covered mountain scene, and then you have these clouds, which I just wanted to paint with some acrylic paints. So you don't have to restrict yourself. You can use any medium you want in your sketchbook, if your sketchbook can handle those mediums. And this one seems to handle it fine. And then I've got some sunflowers on the other side, also painted in, and I just did some line work with some fine liners to define some of the petals and make them really stand out. The next page I've done a better fish. Now this was a fun piece. I did the better fish with watercolors, and after I did the watercolors I just went over everything with a fine liner, a very fine tip, just to get the better fish to stand out and have some of those details really defined, but not really getting rid of the watercolors or like overpowering the watercolor. And on here I had actually something that I didn't like. I don't remember what it was, but I just covered it with ink, and then I just wrote a little message: make your dreams come true, anything is possible. So I believe that anything is possible. You just need to work hard and you will achieve it, and be determined. Then here I've got a little cat, and this little cat was just a quick drawing I did with a fine liner, and I just wanted to sketch something in my sketchbook, and that's what I sketched. Now here as well, this was just a little dog that I sketched as well, but I just did a wash of watercolor over to give him some color, but nothing too detailed. On this page, I wanted to try out my Poscas. Now I bought a white Posca and a black one, but I wanted to try out the white one on black paper and how it would work. So I painted this entire page with black acrylic paint, and then I just went over with some doodles with the white Posca, which I really enjoyed using, and I think it really works nice and it really looks good as well. So this was what I used the Posca for, and it was my first time using the Posca, so yeah. And then on this page I've got a whole lot of doodles, and this page has the doodles of different flowers and leaves and plants, and you know, it was really fun doing all these doodles with ink and then just adding some color to them to, you know, make them really pop. So this was just a doodle page just to, you know, get my creativity out onto paper. And then this page was a more detailed page. These are some of the birds that come to my garden every day, so I wanted to capture them. So I've had a lot of photographs that I've taken of them, and I use that as reference to just, you know, capture them on one spread, and I just drew them all with a fine liner, and I really like how they turned out. They really look good. And then I just wrote what each bird is, the type of bird it is, so I know, yeah, if I knew the bird. This one I didn't know what type of bird, but I know which one it is, but I just drew it as well. The next page are some doodles or little loose painting with some watercolors of flowers. I just wanted to paint with my watercolors, and this is what I painted for that day. On this page I decided to paint some more flowers. This one was something that I was trying to paint, but it didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted. So I painted something else again, and I really like this one compared to this side. This one over on top. This one is just some flowers and some leaves. I just wanted to have it more of like a pattern and a design, which is blue. So that's what I was doing over there. And this side I did some flowers as well, and leaves and some little extras on the side. And I'd really combined different colors. So you see there's some purple and blue and turquoise in here, orange and pink. Here there's some yellow and some darker sort of yellow mustard color, and then here there's some purples and lighter purple as well, and I mix those colors. So I think that really looks cute the way it turned out, the final result, but it was just a doodle page, nothing really too detailed going on there. The next page as well, I just did some, you know, designs with fine liners, and then I don't really draw characters or, you know, characterize any of any objects that I draw. So I just wanted to do that for the first time. So I found a reference of a mug, and you know, I just decided to put a little smiley face on it and, you know, make it look a little bit come to life, and it looks cute. I think it just looks cute, but it was my first time trying to draw something like this, I think. And then moving on to the next page, I've got a hamster that I drew or I painted with, I think this was with the, I'm not sure if it was with watercolors or it was with my intense paint pen, but I think it was with watercolors. I painted this in, and I just wanted to use the paint itself to define the details and not have line work done for it. So that's what I did for this hamster on this side. And then on the side next door, I used the fine liners to do some details, and I just painted in with some color over this flower. So it was very simple, something just simple. It's important to do simple things sometimes just to get your creativity going before you get into more complex pieces. Then I did these paintings. Now some of these are videos on my YouTube channel. You may recognize them. This was a tulip that I did, and I really enjoy creating that smoky background or a murky background, and then having this, you know, this flower with all the details of it. I really enjoyed painting this. And then on the other side, I've got a dolphin with some very loosely painted coral, seagrass, as well as some seaweed. I just wanted to go very simple with it, and I even wrote go with the flow. So just let the paint flow, let your brush go do what it needs to do, and move on the paper, let the paint flow, and see what happens with the splatters and everything. So it was really a very simple but calming, relaxing session of painting. Now the next page, I've done some loose paintings again of some flowers. Not perfect, but I just wanted to have fun with my paints and just get them onto paper. I think at this point just wanting to, create, but not bothered about creating something too realistic or create too detailed pieces. Then on this side, I wanted to play around with my stamps. So I combined my stamps to create these different, frames, and I would use my stamps to, stamp on some of these little centers, and then I use some watercolors to paint in all the details on or not all details, but paint in all the different elements on the stamps that I stamped onto my paper. So it was a way for me to use stamps together with my watercolors. And then on this page, I drew a dragon, I believe for the first time. I don't really draw dragons and like characters that are like cartoonish characters. So I was really excited to draw something like this. So I had fun drawing him. He's so cute. And then on this side, again, I used stamps, and then I used watercolors to just, color everything in and make it look vibrant and cute. And I just used some jelly rolls to add some highlights to the flowers. Now moving on to the next page, this was some flowers I drew. I drew them and I painted them with watercolors and used the white for the highlights on them. This actually turned into a design that I used for my notepads, as well as a design I use for stickers. So those stickers, there are some still available on my store. So if you'd like to see them or, maybe purchase them, they are available on my store if you are interested. But yeah, that's what this ended up turning into, a design for those products. And on this side, I've got a seal that I drew and painted. I used these colors. It was limited colors that I used for it. And this is what I ended up with. This was actually, I think, a video on my YouTube channel. And yeah, it was just a little bit more detailed, but not, too much going on with the details. But I want to add some highlights and, just paint in. And I had so much of fun painting this little seal. Now moving on to the next page, I've got these flowers. Now I drew these flowers and I colored them in with color pencil. These are all the colors I used, and it was just at night and I wanted to just have fun with my color pencils, and I drew that. So it was just a moment that I was feeling like, using color pencils. On this side, I've actually got a drawing that I did of various things: this fairy, mushrooms, butterflies, flowers. And I had this in ink and I didn't want to color it in. It looked better when it was in ink, but then I went in with watercolors, painted it in, and well, this is what it turned out to be. So yeah, it is the way it turned out, but I actually preferred it when it was just ink. But yeah, I really like the mushroom though and the flower. Those are really cute. Not sure about the fairy and the butterfly, but yeah, those two I really like. Then the next one, I actually was trying to experiment with my Inktense blocks here. So I wanted to create two different sides with some silhouettes of trees, and I wanted to try different ways of using the Inktense blocks. So on the side on the left, I used the Inktense blocks directly on the paper and then went in with water to blend. And on the side on the right, I actually used the Inktense to use a brush on the Inktense and then paint on the paper. And these were the colors that I used for these two. And it turned out quite well because I used ink to go over to just create the silhouettes, and I made a note of what I did, so for future reference. So that actually turned out cute. I like how it turned out. Both ways are quite good for you painting, so just a note there. And on this side, I did this little happy fox, and I think he's just so happy, smiling, and I wrote keep smiling. And I just did this painting with watercolors, and I really like how it turned out. It has a bit of detail in it, but at the same time it's very simple and cute. So I think that was a nice piece that I created. Very simple. And then on this side, we went to a more realistic side. Now this is a manatee I painted. It is a video on my channel. It has much more detail in it, and I went in with some highlights. I really like how the highlights of the water shining on him underwater, it really looks nice. And then you have the shadows. I really enjoyed painting him. He's so cute, but I painted him. And then on this side, we have a bush baby. Now this bush baby gave me a lot of trouble. I initially drew it and I did not like it. I had no interest of wanting to look at it. It did not look anything like I wanted to. It still doesn't look exactly like I wanted it to, but it's better than it was. So what happened was I actually drew this initially in July, didn't like it, wasn't happy about it, but then in October I decided to go back and fix it and try to fix it. And I actually fixed it with, instead of using watercolors to fix it, I used acrylic paint, and it turned out better than what it was. So that's another thing to remember. If you make a piece that you're not happy with, later on go back to that piece and try to see if you can, maybe change something or add something, and you can maybe fix it, and it may turn out better than you expected, or even become your favorite piece. This is not my favorite piece, but in your case it may be your favorite piece once you work on it some more. But it's far better than what it was, trust me. So on the next page, I wanted to do something very calm and relaxed. So I did a drawing with graphite, and then also painted with some gray paint, watercolor paint. I just painted this statue, and I just did this little foliage around him for this calmness. And then I just wrote, "You are exactly where you are meant to be. Everything happens for a reason." And I always believe that everything happens for a reason. So that's something that I truly believe, and I just wanted to put it down onto paper. And then on this side, this is actually a video on my channel as well. This was just some ink drawings that I did of a tree, of some flowers, and some flowers in a vase or a little jug. And I was really excited to see how this turns out. It was a very simple drawing, but just using the fine liner to get my shading in with cross hatching and just shading, and I wanted to see how that turns out. And I was really happy with the result. This really turned out quite nice. Then on the next page, now I always wanted to represent Mother Nature and represent it somehow onto paper. So this was a way of me representing her hands. Mother Nature's her hands are reaching up, holding this a piece of land, and there's a growth of this tree, and that's what I was trying to convey in this piece. And that's what I created for this piece. It is a video on my channel, and I really enjoyed doing this piece. It was very relaxing and calming, and I was happy with the final result. Now on this page, I actually was using a 4-color pencil. That's these pencils over here with 4 colors. The nibs have got the blue, red, green, and yellow. This, if you're wondering, is a Creator Color Mega Quattro. So I was using this to do this drawing, and I did these drawings of these cute snails. Now I really like how the colors change if you look at it, between the blue and the green and the red and the yellow, and it really creates this diverse, you'll think it's a rainbow colors, but it's only 4 colors, and how they blend is what makes it look like that. And you think there's purples and pinks, and it really makes it look very cute. And this was actually supposed to be a video for my channel, but I actually forgot to film part of the video, so I ended up not making it a video. But yeah, I did a realistic snail on top, and then at the bottom I did a more stylized snail at the bottom. Now on the next page, again, I still worked with the pencil. I just was doing some doodles for this little squirrel, but because the pencil is so light, you couldn't really make out the squirrel very detailed, or the details of the squirrel, so I just went over with the fine liner to get those details in. And then also I just wrote squirrel at the bottom because it was written in pencil, but I just went over with the fine liner so that you can see it clearly. And then here I just put the 4 colors of the pencil that I used, which will obviously be for both of these. Now on this side, I don't know what I actually drew. I can see through, this is actually just printer paper that I drew on, but I can see there's some leaves and flowers at the back, but for some reason I didn't like that, and I pasted this over, and I just wrote smile, and I drew these doodles of all flowers, a smiley face, and some leaves and everything around the word smile. And then I just colored the smile in with these different gradient colors going over, and I just it really came out cute. I really like how the colors go work with the black and white around it. So this was something really cute. I still don't know exactly why I covered the page underneath, but yeah, that's something you can do, as I said earlier on. And then on this side, I've got a good morning with a cup of tea, flowers, and I just wanted to play around with the lettering, and then also play around with the blending wet in wet. And then I just played around with some design elements on the cup, and it was just a fun piece to create. And I just did some very fine line work on it just to outline everything and then make it stand out a bit more. And then on this side, I've done a study of a skull. Now, I think it's very important for all artists to do studies of certain things that they want to get better at, or things that they want to improve at, or just new things they want to try out. So I want to try out the human anatomy, especially the skull. So I just wanted to draw the skull, and that's what I did. I just got a relative reference photo and I captured this drawing. Now on the next page, I did a painting of a green tree boa. Now this is really fun because I had to draw all the scales, and I did a very quick drawing of this with the ink. And then after that, I did the painting in with the watercolors. I also like the eye, and I think the mouth area came out really nice. So this was the piece that I really enjoyed making. But once again, I didn't have the footage full, or I wasn't filming correctly, or it wasn't in frame, something like that, and I didn't end up making it into a video. But this is another piece that I really enjoyed painting. And then, so this was a piece that I painted. I wanted to paint this crane, and I just wanted to make sure that I paint the entire piece only using the paint and not using a fine liner to do any outlines or details. So I'm only using the paint to create the details of this piece. So I've got the whole crane, the loose background with the foliage, the water, and I was able to create the details of the wings and the feathers just using the paint itself without having to do any line work with a fine liner. Now the next page, this one was actually a challenge for me. This one I was using ink. I was using ink to create, I painted the background, and then I wanted to use a gold pen just to do some working and draw this cat and have all these patterns and moon and stars and make it a sort of a night sky and something, just an illustrative piece. And I actually didn't like how it turned out, and there was a lot of smudging, and that's the one piece that I did. And then on this side I did a lantern also with ink, and I was very happy with how the lantern turned out because I was using a lot of cross hatching, and I think I also used my dip pen as well for some of the details here. So I really like this one because it had a lot of these little details as well as the actual painting in of the lantern. So that's what I enjoyed about this piece. And then on this side, this is where I was going through a little bit of an artist block. I didn't know what to paint, or I wanted to create, but I didn't know what I wanted to create. And everything that I felt like creating, I just decided, no, I don't feel like painting it. So I just ended up painting this butterfly, flowers, writing these words: happiness, dream, world, kindness, magic, just writing random words and just playing around with some lettering. Nothing really, just more of a doodle page just to get me through the little where I was stuck with my art. So yeah, that was what I did there. On this side was the painting I did. I think this also is a video on my channel. This was a painting of with watercolors of some fish. So these were really cute because the fish were, I did all the details only using the watercolors and not going to use a fine liner. But I think I did use some color pencil here and there just to add a bit more definition to them. And I used a white jelly roll to get some of those shiny highlights. And I did the water around them. Now the next piece was a painting I did of a koi fish. And I just did a very loose brush strokes for the water just to give the impression of the water moving. I've got them moving like that. So one's going this way, one's going this way. And then I've just got, the koi fish I did a outline for them so that they really can stand out with a black fine liner. But then I also did the details on them with the scales with only using the watercolors. So this was also a fun loose painting that I did, and nothing too detailed, but it was a fun piece to create. Something different from what I usually create. And then on this side I've got a page. Now this, I don't know what I had drawn here, but there was something I started drawing here that I didn't like. So I just went over with some acrylic. I painted both sides green and blue, and then I went in and I painted some white flowers on both sides. I added some green leaves on this one. Then I just added these little white dots, and that was just what I created. Nothing detailed. I just wanted to create something over the page because I didn't like what I had underneath. I can't remember what I had underneath, but I didn't like that. Then on this side I've got a pot plant with some flowers and some foliage. These are the colors I used, and I was very excited about this piece because it was really nice to get that wet in wet background. And I believe this is a video on my channel as well, and I only used the watercolors. So that's how this one turned out. Now the next page was just some studies I did with ink on, shading and creating shadows with cross hatching and line work. So I did a tree, a rock, I did a cactus, mushrooms, a flower, and some underwater coral and seaweed, and seagrasses. So that's what I wanted to, just do a study of. And on this side, I just painted in. I wanted to play around with my pastel colored acrylic paints. So I just painted random shapes and all around. And then after that, I went in with a fine liner and just, doodled and created, flowers and patterns and wrote little words all over the place. So this was just a doodle page. Now this is something that I really enjoy creating. It's also a video on my channel, and I really enjoy creating it because it looks so realistic. These oranges were done with watercolors, and I just used a jelly roll to create the highlights. I really like how the details came out in them. They really came out so realistic, and I was really proud of this piece when I did it, and I was really happy that how it turned out. So this is one that I really enjoy creating and making it look so realistic. And then I just put a sheet of usual regular printer paper between, just so that nothing, if anything does transfer, it doesn't transfer onto this image, because I really like this image. Then I drew or painted a tiger. These are this was painted with the Inktense paint pan set. Now I use this just to paint a tiger, not really looking for detail or anything, not really referencing it much with a actual reference photo, but just drawing a tiger. So this is what I ended up creating. It doesn't look as realistic as my other tigers that I've painted in the past with acrylics or any other medium that I've painted them, but it looks, without using a real proper reference photo to draw them, I think it came out fine. And it was fun drawing them with only these colors. Then we come to Inktober for 2024. Now I didn't take part in Inktober where every day I did one page of artwork for that prompt. I decided one day to just sit down, go through all the prompts and do little thumbnail size or little small images of every prompt for the whole month. So I started off with backpack. I did a backpack, and then with little pencils and pens and all paintbrushes in the back. And then I did exotic. I did a palm tree on an island. Discover, I did a dinosaur in a book. Discover things from a book. You discover stuff. And then binoculars, I drew binoculars. For boot, I drew boots with flowers growing out of them, and then or coming out of them. And then I drew for trek a road or pathway going into the mountains. For passport, I drew a book open with all the places I would like to go to. Hike, I would put a woods with a hiking trail. The sun, I just drew a sun with a face. And then for nomadic, I put the pyramids, a camel, and a little bag which you'll carry over your shoulder. And then I've got a horizon. I drew horizon with the sun rising with the clouds. Snacks, I did a sweets and snacks that I like a TV bar, chocolate, and a jumping jack popcorn. Now later on in my sketchbook, I actually drew these two. I drew the packaging of them, and they look so realistic and they look so good. So you will come to that a little later, but that was another one that I really enjoyed drawing. Then for a remote, I drew a little hut on an island in the middle of the ocean. And for Rome, again, a road with some houses and trees. And I got a little cat there who's looking at the whole place as he's going to roam around the streets. And then guidebook, I've got a little book drawn, and I wrote their guide to life. And then on the next page, I got the next prompt, which was grungy. Now I didn't have color for these, so I had to use my pen to create the grungy look of the edges of the map. And then journal, I just drew a journal with some impression of writing. Then I've got drive, I've got a car going down a road. Ridge, I've got a ridge of a mountain over there. Uncharted, I drew a pirate ship. And then rhinoceros, I drew a rhino. And then a camp, I just drew a tent with a campfire going in the middle of the woods. And then for rust, I drew a lock, and then I just used some shading to create like as if the lock is rusted. And then for expedition, I drew Mount Everest. I just drew the mountains. Scarecrow, I drew a scarecrow. Road, I just drew a road going into wherever it's going. It's just going. And then camera, I drew a camera. For jumbo, I drew a small regular ball, and then I drew this massive ball. And then for navigator, I just drew a map, and I drew the different directions and obviously different places you would want to go. Violin, I drew a violin, and for landmark, I drew the Eiffel Tower. So those are just how I interpreted the prompts last year. I didn't want to do any full detailed pieces. I wanted to take part in it, but I wanted to just do it, something simple and quick. So for me, that's how I interpreted the Inktober last year. Now, the next one were actually, this was my tinted charcoal in the paint pan set. And I did use the tinted charcoal 1 pencil, but the rest of them were from the paint pan set that I have. I drew this hedgehog. Now this was the initial sketch that I did for the hedgehogs to see how I can, interpret and draw the spikes on their body. And then this is how I finally interpreted with the layering and getting the spikes done with the hedgehog and, getting all those details and the colors in with using tinted charcoal. So that's how I did the hedgehog. Now also, once again, I did spray this with fixative and it sealed everything in, so it really didn't do anything to the paper, it didn't do anything to the image, everything's still fine. And I just put this sheet of regular printer paper between with some washi tape like I did earlier for the oranges, just so that I can keep it separate so that nothing can, go off if anything does go off. But I did put fixative on it, so it shouldn't smudge at all, but I just put it there in case. And on this side was my Halloween painting for last year. This was with acrylics, and I did this painting just of this little ghosty and this little pumpkin with the glowing eyes, glowing mouth, and then I've got this little cute expression on the ghost face. And I really like these little swivels around them. It gives it like this glowing, creepy vibe, but cute vibe as well. I really like that how it looks. And then obviously the background. So this was what I created for Halloween. This was actually a video on my channel. Then I had a second video for Halloween. That was this one. Now this one had a lot more detail, also with acrylics. It had the haunted house. It had all the little ghosts, the moon with the little bats at front. It had these little bare trees, these little, gravestones in this graveyard. And it was a really nice painting of how it turned out. But unfortunately, while I was filming, I didn't film part of it. So it ended up not becoming a video for my channel. So yeah, that's how that one ended up. And then this was another page that I just wanted to get creative, but I didn't want to really do anything in detail. So I wanted to create a page or work with my color pencils, but I didn't want to create something that's detailed or really it's going to take a long time. So I just got my color pencils out, did the ink pencil drawings of everything, inked everything. Some of it I didn't even use a pencil drawing. I just went in with ink, and then I just colored everything in with color pencils. And I like this gradient of colors, so I just created these lettering of the words smile, kindness, gratitude, happiness, and abundance. So I just created that little drawing and some random objects that I painted, or not painted, drew and colored in with color pencils. So nothing really detailed, just a creative page, creative session, nothing too complicated. Now on this side, on this page, I've done a drawing of all different studies of different little scenes. This was I was trying to see how I could do a dark background with watercolors but have the lighter colors on top. So you've got these light colored tulips and leaves on a dark background. Then here we've got just these little flowers. Over here we've got a waterfall, and I just created the highlights with a white jelly roll pen. And on this side I've got a sunflower, and here I just wanted to create a scene like in the forest. There's the light coming from the back, the shadows, there's a log lying on the ground, and there's some grass growing around it. So that's what I created there. And on this side I wanted to work with some architecture, so I wanted to create a drawing of architecture. So this is a building in Switzerland, according to the royalty-free reference photo that I used, and it's actually a building that's in the distance behind other buildings. So I only drew the portion that's showing behind the other buildings, and you can see there's a lot of details. Now I've done one similar to this where I did the Big Ben. I used ink to do, I first did the pencil drawing, I inked the whole drawing, and then I went in with watercolors over everything. And I did the same steps for this one. There was a pencil drawing, I did the ink drawing of everything to get all those details in, and then I went in with a wash of watercolor and just to get the color into the piece. So that's how this one turned out. I like the detail of the windows and the clocks and the bricks. The bricks are really fun to draw actually. So I had fun drawing that. And then I did another one. I think this is also a video on my channel. This was actually, I really got it, you know, what caught my eye of the reference photo was the terracotta domes for the roofs, for the terracotta colored tiles. And then you had this, you know, tan color bricks. And it had all these details of these towers. And, you know, we had this foliage in the front, which is this, you know, from the browns and the terracotta you go to this pinks and greens, and you got this light blue sky. And I wanted to really capture that, and that's what drew me to this page or to this reference photo. And then I just painted drew the entire thing and inked it, and then, you know, just went in with you know, watercolors and just, you know, added color to it. That was really something I enjoyed doing. It was a lot of fun. And then obviously for the bricks, I used a brown fine liner just to get all that brickwork done. It was really a lot of fun. Then the next one I did was on the side. I was actually sitting on the couch and I decided that I wanted to sketch something. So I just grabbed my sketchbook and my fine liner and I drew this pot plant with some flowers. This is actually a pot plant that's in my studio, but it's not a real plant. It's actually a fake plant, but it looks very realistic. So that's why I wanted to draw all these, you know, the veins on the leaves, and, you know, get the shading done and use the cross hatching for the pot and get the shadows in. And that's how I ended up drawing this particular pot plant, which I think came out really nice. Then we go to the next page. Now this page I really just wanted to try out. I've got new stencils that I wanted to try out. So I had these two stencils of flowers and then this background stencil that I just wanted to try out and see how it works. So I used my ink pads and, you know, I just used the foam brush to just, you know, get some ink on there. And then I did some outlining with color pencil. It wasn't really anything I was trying to achieve. I just was trying out my new stencils and I used the ink pads to do add the color to it. And then this was actually a drawing that I did of this, and then you can see there's a lot of details in there. I really like the palm tree. This palm tree came out really nice, and there's another one behind it. And I just wanted to really draw draw this and, you know, bring it to life. I was going to add color, but I thought the color would really take away from the details of the pen work. So I decided to just leave it with the ink. So because the ink work really got details in that I wanted to keep, like, you know, shadows and, you know, the paving and the pillars and all of the building and the roof and everything. So I just wanted to leave it that way. And yeah, this is how it turned out. This was really a fun piece that I created with just using a pen. And then we come to the piece that I was talking about earlier on with the Inktober with the snacks. So this is my favorite chocolate and this is my favorite popcorn to eat. Stevie bar, and this is the jumping jack popcorn. This is the cheese and spring onion flavor. I also like the white cheddar, which is a purple and black packet, but I wanted to paint the green packet because I think it just looked good with the red. And I really like how the shine of the packaging of the chocolate, the bag of the popcorn, how the shine of it came through, the details of it, as small as I could get. I would really enjoy how small, because I'm only drawing on part. This is an A5 book and I'm only drawing on part of the paper, so you can imagine it's quite small to get those real details in. And if you see, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's some gold outlining on the words jumping jack for the popcorn over here. So you can see there's some gold workings, and even on the there's a carnival face on the top there. So I really was so excited to try to capture it and bring it to life. So I actually looked at the actual packaging and then I drew it and painted it using watercolor. So this really came out really nice and I'm really proud of it. This is another piece in this book that I really am proud of, and I'm really happy with it that I was able to paint this. And the next page was just, okay, now we're coming to the last few pages, but this was just with me doing some loose paintings with watercolors of some tulips, some flowers, you know, bluebells. I just wanted to draw some flowers and, you know, get some with movement with my brush and see how I can get the strokes to create different different shapes. And then on this side, I watched a video by Jess Karp where she was talking about the color wheel. Now, I've actually used my color wheel a lot. I like to, you know, find ways to, you know, mix colors and things like that. So I use this a lot. So I saw Jess Karp's video and I was really excited to see how she did this color wheel, and she was even saying it's nice to do it sometimes afterwards. So I haven't done it in years, like literally years. So like, I don't know, maybe over 15 years, 10 years, I don't even know. So I really wanted to try to, you know, get back to it and do it again and see. Although I mix colors very easily, it comes to me, but there's always something to just enjoy about the process of having this exercise to do. So yeah, that video inspired me to do this as well. So I used different gouache. I used the Montmartre gouache and I used the Prime Art gouache. So you can see there's a little bit of difference because of the paint and the type of paint and the amount of pigment it has and everything. It does change the colors a bit. Even the amount of water you water it down with will make a difference to it. But I basically only use these three colors for this color wheel, and I've only used these three colors for this color wheel. So you can see how different the colors can, you know, how many colors you can make from just those three if you combine them in certain combinations. So yeah, this was really fun to do. I also you know, did a value scale from white to black. I did that as well. And then obviously if you add a color to your grays, any of the colors to your grays, you will get your tones. And then obviously I just made some notes here as well, that if you add white to any of your colors, you will get these pastel tints. If you get, they will be called tints. And if you add black to any of your colors that you mix, you will get shades. So these are all your shades, and then these are your tints of these colors. But I only use these three colors to get all of this. This was only used for this, but this was used for everything else, and the black and the white obviously. So that was what I did with that one. And then that was that exercise that I did. And then on the next page, I just used the colors that I was just talking about, these three colors at the bottom. Now I never make a note on the previous page, but if you mix all these three colors together, you will get various versions of these browns depending on how much of each color you mix. So this is how I got the brown for the sand. So these were some quick drawings or paintings that I did using those three colors, just to see how you can actually get a drawing out or painting that has so many colors with just these three. I mean, if you look at these three, you will not think that they make up these two paintings, because this doesn't even look like it has any red in it. This doesn't even look like it has any you know, it got yellow in it, but you wouldn't see it got plain red, or it has got blue in it. But these three bright saturated colors can become those kind of paintings. A saturated painting, a more calmer looking painting with some very you know, calm colors. So it really can help to have those three colors, and you can create so many different colors, and you can create artworks. Now these were just very quick paintings I did, nothing too detailed. I was just experimenting with using the three colors, and yeah, that was really fun. This was such a fun exercise that she reminded me about, and I really enjoyed doing that. So yeah, that was very fun to do. So that was the last page of my sketchbook, and that brings us to the end of the sketchbook tour. So I hope you watch the sketchbook tour and you feel inspired to keep your own sketchbook or to finish your own sketchbook, and just to work in it and have fun in your sketchbook, because that's what your sketchbook is there for you to be, you know, learning, experimenting, and having fun with your art, and just enjoying your supplies and just, you know, having fun. That's the main thing. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it inspirational. If you have, don't forget to like and share. It really helps the channel out. Also, if you'd like to see other art videos, art inspirational videos that I put up on my channel, then you could consider subscribing to my channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified as soon as my next video goes up on the channel. And yeah, I guess that's it for this video. So thanks again so much for watching. Till the next one. Bye.